Why would we come to believe that somehow we can leave these problems to solve themselves? And somehow they will. They won't. They won't. And if we don't take the issue before us seriously, then we will be the first Americans to leave for our children and grandchildren unresolved problems. Basically, the problems and issues of our time will also become theirs. And that's something that's never happened in American history. And it should not happen now. It's what compels me to run for office at a time when I didn't think I would be running for office. Because I think the stakes are extraordinarily high. And I think the political process has never been more broken in terms of being able to solve these problems. There is a lot of problems in politics. There's an issue of public trust. Unfortunately, every day you read about issues of corruption. These are all important, and they're all troubling. But the single biggest problem in American politics are not those things. It is, quite frankly, people that are willing to say or do anything to get elected. Basically, they will be whatever you want them to be in order to win your vote. And the problem with that is that in normal times, that's just annoying. But in times like this, it's downright dangerous. Because if people can get away with being anything they need to be to win the next election, then they can't be held accountable. And if you have no accountability in politics, you have a political process that doesn't work. And there's too many people in Washington, D.C. today and across the American political spectrum that are not accountable. And they're not accountable because they didn't run on a platform we can hold them accountable to. And to the extent that they did, they can break that platform without any consequences. Look, let me just close by saying that one of the great benefits of running in this race is the ability to travel the state and meet people all over the state. And you get to fully appreciate the so-called diversity of our state. It's real. There's no doubt that the music they listen to in Pensacola is different than the one they listen to in Miami. The only thing people in Florida have in common from one place to the next are the important things. Almost every parent I meet anywhere is obsessed with the idea of leaving their children better off than themselves. And I'm reminded that that really truly is our common heritage as a people. Every single person in this room, perhaps without exception, can track their story back to someone who at some point in their life made it the mission of their life to ensure that everything they could not have, you could. Now maybe that person was you, maybe it was your parents or your grandparents. All of you have that story. Perhaps they couldn't be who God meant them to be in the land of their own birth, and they were blessed and fortunate enough to find a place like the United States. Maybe it was your parents or your grandparents that worked 2 jobs to make ends meet, so that one day you wouldn't have to do the same. Maybe there were things they dreamed about being, but couldn't accomplish, but they were obsessed with the idea that you could. That's our common heritage, and it's my story one I fully identify with. My parents are exiles. They're immigrants, but they're exiles. And they worked hard every day of their lives to ensure that one day their kids could do what they could not. I'm reminded when I come to events like this and rooms like this, my dad worked in rooms like this. He was a bartender. There's no bartender here today. But if there are, I usually point to them. They stand behind these little bars, you know, with the wheels on it. My dad stood behind a bar like that for 30 some odd years, so that one day his sons or his daughters could sit at one of these tables or stand behind a podium like this. Now that's a testament to my parents and their hard work, but it's an even greater testament to this nation, to what's possible in America, to something every politician will tell you, but which I hope we fully understand is at stake right now. A country, a society where that is possible is rare. In the history of the world, it is almost impossible to find other societies where stories like that are possible. Not just my story, but your story. And yet here we have it now. We have it in a place called the United States of America, a place unlike any other in the history of the world. And at stake now is whether it will continue to be that place or whether it will become like everybody else. And the answer to that question will define not just our nation, but our legacy.